So what was Project Looking Glass? And again, if you want to go back, look at the madness that started taking place around 2000. Look at the madness that started happening, right? To 2012, right? Look at, that's when the America really started doing like all this wild stuff, right? And then around 2012, they had this convergence happened, right? And the rumor was, the unconfirmed rumor was, is that the Project Looking Glass device stopped performing the way that they thought it was performing, right? But it didn't stop performing the way that they thought it was, right? They thought it was broke. But what it was really was happened was, no matter what they put in, what variable they put into this computer, this device, it led to the same conclusion. Like all timeline scenarios, all vergences, all, anomalies in the timeline, all started going to the same exact outcome, no matter what they did, right? Put it into it. So they thought it was broken. It wasn't broken, right? So they brought in these engineers to go down there and look at it. They try to replicate it. They went through extremes, right? Total nuclear war, zombie apocalypse led to the same conclusion. Total utopia on Earth, where mankind suffers everything and suffers nothing, and everybody is abundance or whatever, led to the same exact result, right? And this is where it freaked them out. And the people who control our government, and if you have been paying attention to what's going on lately, you are seeing who is exactly completely in charge of the United States of America. And we're going to get to that right now. They panic, right? And I'm going to tell you the reason why they panic, right? So around 2012, the exact same time this thing started panicking, that whole Mayan calendar thing started coming in, right? But a lot of people don't realize that the Mayan calendar never really ends. It just clicks over into a new age, right? And the way they were selling it to you on the History Channel was that, oh, the Earth's going to end. They were doing all these doomsday scenarios where your toaster's going to come alive and kill you. That's not what it meant, man. It meant the end of an age, the beginning of a new age, right? And so what happened was that 2012 passed, but none of that happened. Nothing crazy happened. But it did with Looking Glass. That's when all the timelines started to converge and leading to one single outcome. I keep hitting my microphone. I apologize for that if that rumbled too loud. One single timeline. And that's what freaked them out. And so then they started coming out with this whole, they tried to spin it, is what they were doing, right? It was a spiritual shift. It was an energetic shift. I'm reading the term, it was an internal awakening, a long-term unfolding of plans, right? Blah, 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 right? They tried to name it anything they could other than the outcome than what the computer was showing them, right? And I'm going to tell you exactly what the computer was showing them in a second, right? In 2015, right about the time in there, man, again, don't click off, is when this whole Q thing started, right? The whole Q conspiracy hit the board. And then there was a fringe community on these boards saying that Q was Project Looking Glass, dumping as a self-aware AI entity that was dumping what was happening or what was about to happen on the planet, right? And so also too, it was the exact same time that this started going on, CERN started doing like really, really bad, weird stuff. They had their whole human sacrifice that was real. They tried to say it was false to Shiva right outside of the entrance, right? And again, I do not like using the word elites. That's when they really started to panic, right? They really started to go into it. I would say desperate. And when they got desperate, they got sloppy. Now, we all know what happens in 2016. Trump gets elected, and then, that whole stuff starts pouring out. All this Q stuff started getting louder and louder and louder, talking about this was a 50-year operation. This was this, that, and the other. Sure. I've debunked several things on that. However, I've also said that there are some very peculiar anomalies that lined up with what was being said on those.
Subscribe now and turn on notifications to join us on this extraordinary journey into the unknown.